then make the stencils. Put them on a Facebook Marketplace. Do the ones you've made. You've made a Yamaha Honda. The Mugen one was a really good sticker too. So do a little sticker stencil combination, and I'll tell you what to ask for. In fact, I'll even place the ads. No, you cannot be a sponsor on the show. I think that's nepotism. You know, there are other people that want to be sponsors. Yes. No, I've got about 20 seconds yet. Yes, I still would like to go to Monterey this weekend. Yeah. That'd be fine. You take the dogs. They have a dog-friendly hotel. Okay. All right.
You're live.
We're down at the starting line. Let's get ready, and I'll tell you what you're going to see on tonight's show. In the next time, try this segment. I've got a great tip for you on how to tap and drill holes properly. In the Moto Showcase, a Kawasaki F11M. Here's the problem. You've got questions. We've got answers. What is it worth? You're going to really, really like this tonight. It's a very special bike. Just how I see it segment. I'll tell you about how I see a certain subject. We've got all that and a whole lot more coming up on Vintage Motocross Q&A. Good evening, everyone. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A, and I am your host, Joe Abadi. Thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you, Jordan, Chelsea, and Susie for helping putting the show together. And thank you guys once again who tune in every week. Don't forget to keep sharing the show, whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube. A little bit later on, we will have a random share giveaway winner, but we're going to announce it on the page tomorrow. So keep sharing the show if you're on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, please comment Motion Pro, and then go over to the page tomorrow around 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I will have the winner announced. Don't forget to keep joining our show at YouTube, okay? Subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends about it. When you do, you'll get a little alert just like this. It tells you when we're live on YouTube. You can catch all of our past shows, all of our interviews, and all of our live shows every Wednesday. How are the pros watching the show? How are the experts watching it? They're sitting back at home on the big screen TV watching the show while they comment through their phone. That is the best way to do it. That's the way you should be enjoying Vintage Motocross Q&A. As always, I want to thank our sponsors, Motion Pro, Vintco, Racer X, Preston Petty Products, Full Circle Racing, Northwest Mako CZ, Sunrise Vapor Blasting, and the International Motocross Museum. On tonight's Next Time Try This segment, I want to talk to you about how to drill a hole the proper size when you are looking to thread it or tap it, okay? One thing you want to keep in mind, you should get a chart like the one that's visible here in the slide. It gives you all the details of what size drill bit you should use depending on what size tap you're going to use. For this display right here tonight, I'm just going to show you what I did to get an 8mm hole into a little plate like this. You might want to do this if you were making a part out of aluminum especially, and you want to get the hole the right size. Two things to keep in mind. Number one, your tap is tapered on the end. When you drill your hole, you want to make sure the first 3 or 4 teeth that are on that tap will go into that hole. If they're not going to go in comfortably, you're going to have a heck of a time spinning that tap around in order to make that hole. You may have to make the hole a little bit bigger. This is why your chart is going to be very, very helpful to you when you go to determine what size drill you're going to use. The other important part is it's got to be level. When you put that tap with your handle into that piece of work, whatever it is you might be working on, you want to make sure it's level so your threads get straight. Let's go over and we'll take a look at the tape. And we'll show you a little bit more about what I'm talking about. Whatever the part is that you might be working on, we're just going to use this little aluminum plate here as an example, but you might be working on something for a chain guide, whatever it might be. You've determined that you want to use a bolt this size. Now, you want to measure the bolt. And in this case, it happens to be 8mm. Okay, I think you can see that there, 8mm. After you determine that it's an 8mm bolt that you want to use, you're going to have to know exactly what the thread pitch is. With a little thread pitch gauge like this, you can go on here on your bolt, and it tells you that it's a 1.25 thread pitch. So now we've determined it's an 8mm bolt with a 1.25 thread pitch. The next thing you're going to have, of course, is the correct tap. This is an 8mm by 125 tap. It's got a little handle, and you could buy them inexpensively at a local tool supply place. If you're not really a machinist and you just need to get something quick, you can buy one at like a Harbor Freight or something like that. Now, we've determined that the bolt is an 8mm, and let's just say that we want to make our hole, I don't know, somewhere in there. A good idea is to have a spring-loaded prick punch just like this, spring-loaded punch. It's great to have around, really gives you an accurate mark for where you're going to be drilling your hole. I would strongly suggest you don't start off with the bit that you're going to be used for your final drilling. Start off with something smaller, something like this. Make yourself a pilot hole. There's a better chance that you're going to get it in there straight when you have it in your drill as opposed to getting it on an angle. So start off with a pilot hole like that, and then gradually or directly go up to the size of the drill you're going to use. And while I'm at that point, what I have learned is that you want to use a drill that is 1.5mm smaller, 1.5mm smaller than the 8mm hole that you're going to want to make. In this case, I did find that my drill that I'm going to be using is, well, it's just about 6.68. It's a little over what I want to use. I usually use something about 1.5 millimeters smaller than the actual tap, but 6.65, that's certainly close enough for what we're going to be doing here today. The whole purpose, of course, is to make sure that you cut your hole big enough to where your tap is going to go in enough, but you want to make it so that you have a good deep thread to grab your bolt on. Okay, so let's start drilling our pilot hole first. And of course, you want to remember to keep the drill straight. You don't want to go on an angle. Take a look at it from the side. Go in as straight as possible when you're drilling your pilot hole. Okay, now we're going to go up to our next size bit. I've used 2 drills for this just to save a little time. Now I'm going to remount this in the vise so it's nice and square and flat. 2 things you're going to want to have around with you when you do this is a little oil can like this. You're going to want to keep a little oil in that hole, or else it's always a good idea to put a little on your tap. Keep those flutes clean on your tap too. When you're doing this, you may have to stop a couple of times to back it out. Either way, you want to keep some oil on there and you want to keep it clean. Of course, the first thing you want to do is make sure that your tap is going in squarely. Okay, make sure the tap is going in squarely and with light pressure on both ends of the handle. Just start to push down, turn slowly, firmly, let the tap get a bite. And once you do, you can begin to turn a little bit faster, but after just 3 or 4 turns maybe, you want to back out a little bit, make sure the little chips are coming out. A little extra oil never hurts. You want to take your time when you do this. You don't want to break a tap off in the workpiece. your day is going to get really ugly if that should happen. So take your time, go slowly, back off a turn or so every 2 turns, every 3 turns. And I'm almost all the way through. And another good idea is making sure you get all the chips out of there and that your threads are clean when you go to put the bolt in there. I like to use a little brake clean, just like this. And here's our 8 millimeter by 125 bolt from a little bit earlier. And there you have it. Another tip for you, one of the best things you could do, get a piece of metal, piece of aluminum, get some taps and practice. Get some drill bits, put it in your drill press, use a drill, keep everything straight, and practice before you go to do it on something that you're really, really particular about. So next time, try that. This week's Vinco special are 1982 to 87 rod kits for your Kawasaki. That fits the KDX80 and it also fits the KX100, 95 to 1997. It's got the whole kit, comes with the thrust washers, the bearing, and the hinges. $89.95. $89.95 at Vinco. Keep the ride going. In the Moto Showcase tonight, we take a look at a 1973 Kawasaki F11M, a very, very rare bike. It was sent to us by Terry Knutson from Canada. I'm going to read to you about what Terry wrote. Jordan will go through the slides. Before the 1973 MX season, Kawasaki built a very limited production run of only 200 units of this bike. In the late 1960s, Kawasaki did have a good run with the 238 Green Streak, but that bike was built more for scrambles and a much smoother course. Brian Farnsworth, a great guy, Kawasaki's R&D manager at the time, had Peter Lampu and Jim Cook as test riders for this bike as they were developing it. And Kawasaki of Japan hired Torleif Hansen to ride the 250 GPs on this bike. The suspension wasn't that great, but the power was spot on. Japanese focus for the 250s was to get a bike ready for those guys because their riders were actually a little bit smaller and a 450cc bike was not something they were really, really accustomed to at that time. Anyway, Terry goes on to say that he purchased his bike from a gentleman who was in a Kawasaki dealership at Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada. As you can see from the pictures, the condition when I received it. The bike actually ran very well, so I only freshened up the paint, the engine. I replaced as much of the hardware with NOS as possible, and surprisingly, I found about 90% of it through dealers I had searched for. Now, I had to hand alter the seat foam using a 1974 Kawasaki KX250 seat foam because there was not a seat foam to be found for an F11. Anyway, he also did the pipe through a gentleman in Alberta, Canada. The pipe was dented up and he did have him fix it. He did a great job. Tom McAllister from Full Circle Racing did the rims. He refurbished the hubs, did the bearings for him, and got the spokes and the nipples, and everything came from Full Circle Racing. So there you see it, a very, very rare 1973 Kawasaki F11M that was sent in to us by Terry Knutson from Canada. Terry, if you get me your mailing address, I will get you something really nice from Preston Petty Products, probably a set of GP grips, or if you want stickers from Vinco, whatever it might be that we usually give away here on the show. I want to thank Terry Knutson for tuning in every week and sending us in that very, very interesting and quite rare bike. That segment of the show is, of course, brought to you by Preston Petty Products. Got something interesting going on there at Preston Petty. A very, very limited number of front mutter fenders. They don't have a logo on them. There is no logo on these fenders. A very, very limited supply. They're just $32.95. Okay, the regular price is like $20 more with the logo on it. But if you're looking for a non-logo white mutter fender from Preston Petty, it's a great deal at $32.95. And don't forget, while they last, they've got these beautiful billet aluminum number plate mounts. These are great for mounting your number plates or your Preston Petty headlight. Okay, get them while they last. They come from 30 to 36 millimeter, beautiful black anodized billet aluminum. They're half off right now, like $22 at Preston Petty Products. And they're still looking for dealers. Get a hold of Paul Stannard if you want to become a dealer for Preston Petty. And here's the problem segment tonight. We take a look at some of the questions that you have sent in over the past week or so. Take a look at the first one. Jeff Kokoski. Jeffrey's question is, I have a stock 1978 RM125. I'm wondering why there is a gap at the front of the engine cases. You know, Jeff, I asked three of the most brightest minds in Suzuki, vintage Suzukis that I know. One of them is Phil Brotman. The other one was Jay Hall. And I forgot who the third one was. Anyway, Buzz Scherer. They've all had 78s. They've all noticed this, and it's just a casting thing. There is no rhyme nor reason for it. When you put the gasket in there, there is a seal. Yeah, you can see in the picture on the left, there is that little gap in there, but it doesn't affect anything on the engine. There's nothing wrong with it, and nobody could really tell me why it actually happened. I thought for a moment that maybe the year before there was a PE model, maybe the ignition side was a little bit different, and they used that case, but I don't think that's it. Nobody I know that knows Suzuki's better than I do, and I think it's all three of those guys, could ever tell me why that little gap was in the casting. So I don't know, Jeff, if you're trying to play stump the host every week, you're doing a pretty good job this week. Garrett Rockley, can I use a drift pin to remove the bearing retainer cap on a 1974 Honda CR250? Garrett actually sent me this question on my Facebook page and said I could use it here on the show. And as you know, I know you cannot use a drift pin. Not if you want to get it out in one piece. If it's destroyed already and you want to use a drift pin to get it the rest of the way out, be my guest. But my advice would be to get over to Motion Pro for just $25. You can buy a tool just like this, and you could take the one out that is in there if it's in good condition. Also, if it's not in good condition, you could take it out relatively easily and replace it with the right one that are still available out there. I see them at the popular auction sites, and some people have them for sale as well. I also posted a video for Garrett on my page because I did this one day, a little next time try this segment or something on the show that I did a while back showing how to get that retainer cap in and out safely. But thank you for the question, Garrett. Andy Karras, I've got a problem finding NGK B8ES spark plugs. What is my alternative? Yeah, I'm hearing this a lot lately, and oddly enough, I went and found in a Google search that some people are on eBay, I can say it, they are selling these things, and they are available for $58.33 for a pack of 10. I see other people selling them and acting as if they are the last spark plugs on earth. They're selling them for $12, $15, $18. But there are some B8 ES out there. If you don't want to use that, you can use a Champion N3G. You can use a Champion N3G if you cannot find the NGKs, but there are some out there yet. Take a look. They're still available.
Hi, I'm Tommy Croft, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A with Joe Abadi. We'll be right back with my dear friend Joe.
Hi, I'm Jeff with Motion Pro, introducing you to our latest digital tire pressure gauge today. Now, this has proven to be one of our staple products. It is trusted by race teams throughout the industry, as well as Dunlop tire techs. We'll first talk about the air gauge head, which has an auto on-off backlit display and large numbers, and so it's really easy to read, even in low lighting situations. It reads 0 to 60 PSI with high precision down to 0.1 PSI and accuracy of plus or minus 0.6 PSI. Attached to the head is our trapezoid manifold, which is billet aluminum in construction and gives a nice ergonomic feel in your hand. It also gives access to our high pressure bleeder, which was designed by Motion Pro. Now moving on, we have this long air hose, which has dual swivels, and so you can get into tight areas and still get a good read at the gauge. And at the end, now included, is our Pro air gauge chuck. It engages positively onto valve cores for extremely accurate readings. So go ahead and pick one up for yourself today. It's available from dealers nationwide.
In the What's It Worth segment tonight, we take a look at a 1973 Penton 250 that recently sold on eBay. This is, of course, the segment of the show where I encourage you, the viewers at home, in all your brilliance, to guess how much you think this bike recently sold for. Before I tell you about the description of the bike, I will tell you that it sold in Colorado on June 2nd of this year. We even have a little video at the end too. Well, give me your best guess in just a moment. In the meantime, I'll read to you what the seller says. Selling a clean 73 Penton 250 motocross bike. The bike runs great. It starts easily. It pulls very strong. The following new parts are brand new. The tires, tubes. It has rebuilt works shocks, Sirianni forks, solid 250cc KTM engine. It has an electronic ignition, an alloy tank, and side covers. The original foam in the seat, and it has a new cover. It also has a Bing carburetor, a nice pipes, new cables, Magura controls, and throttle. It has a new chain and sprocket. The side cover is signed by John Penton, where he did that at Vintage Days for me in mid-Ohio, and it's got a lot more great stuff on it as well. Jordan, I think if we could hear that bike run while the people are thinking about what it's actually worth, that would be really cool. Here we go. What's your best guess? 2,000, 3,000, 6,000. This bike sold for $5,800. A nice little bike. You get to see it run. And yeah, $5,800. Who got closest without going over? I think I'm going to put a question on the show one of these days. See more and more people selling bikes with a video of the bike actually running. And I'm wondering if that's going to become in vogue very, very soon. Everybody has a phone. Everybody has a bike that they say runs really, really well. And when they go to sell it, I think more and more people will start or should start actually putting up a video of their bike. We'll have that on maybe next week in our Just How I See It segment or something like that. $5,800, 1973 Penton 250. Full Circle Racing still running a great special. Powder coating hubs for just $50 a piece. For $10 more, Tom will do the backing plate as well. That's in satin or gloss black. For $20 more, he'll make them any color you want. Get a hold of Tom McAllister at Full Circle Racing. Great guy, supports a lot of the racing up in the Northwest. He's also got another special going on right now for $179. Tom has this beautiful aluminum backing plate for your CZs made of 6061 aluminum. Tom's been making these things for 20 years. He brings them in, he brings them out, he sells a bunch, he goes back to building wheels, $179, $169 if you don't want the logo. That's at Full Circle Racing. Thank you, Tom McAllister. We're going to take a commercial break. Don't forget to keep sharing the show. Tomorrow on the page, Vintage Motocross Q&A, we'll announce the winner of the sticker sheet compliments of Vinco.com. We'll be right back.
Vinco, who already has a full line of vintage parts, now has air shocks that are an exact duplicate of the original air shocks so popular in the late 70s. So whether you're looking to build a full racer or museum showpiece, these shocks will give you that incredible 70s look and improve your bike's performance. These new air shocks are fully rebuildable with Vinco rebuild kits, and all shocks are hand assembled in the USA with all new components. Every component is brand new. Just like the originals, our air shocks are adjustable with 2 chambers, high and low pressure, giving you tremendous flexibility for settings of your bike suspension. The Vinco air shocks come fully assembled and ready for installation. Just add air or nitrogen. The kits include the manual and spacers. Visit Vinco.com to check out the air shocks and all that Vinco has to offer to help you get back on track and to keep that ride going.
Welcome back into Just How I See It segment tonight, which is a little bit different. Just How I See It. And, I also have a segment every other week or so of Have You Ever Heard Of? And I wasn't sure whether I was going to call it Have You Ever Heard Of or Just How I See It, because it is about a person. And it's just how I see it when it comes to Jody Weisel. And yes, I could ask, have you ever heard of? But I think you've heard of Jody Weisel. He's been the editor of Motocross Action magazine for over 48 years now. And I find Jody to be a very, very interesting person in the sense that he has the world, really a world stage with a great, great magazine. And he's probably the only guy that's ever test ridden every motocross bike for the past 45 years. He's got an incredible crew down there at Motocross Action. I think they have a team of about 7 riders. Jody, a very, very accomplished guy as far as riding goes. A road racer in the 60s that wanted to get involved in motocross, and he did that. He was from Texas. He moved over to Southern California, and really just sort of a quiet being that has the ear of so many people through the written word. Jody, of course, went on in 2018 to get the Edson Dye Lifetime Achievement Award, and he's had what do you call it? A segment in his magazine called Jody's Box. He's had that for a while, and some other things as well. What impresses me about Jody is he has a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and a PhD. And if you look every day through my Google searches, and I guess the algorithm that goes around, they always bring up one of Jody's articles. And the one that I remember most, and it comes up every now and then, if you've read Jody's writings, you might remember this. There was one called "My Father Never Saw Me Ride." And it was a very, very emotionally written article. My father never saw me ride. And it was about his dad, who never got a chance to see him race, rather, not ride. He never got a chance to see him race. And if you get an opportunity, go and search for that. Jody Weisel, My Dad Never Saw Me Race, and read about that. And he's got a lot of other great articles as well. So, guy that's been around a long time, Lifetime Achievement Award, and a very highly educated, well-read guy, Jody Weisel. And I'm sure you've heard of him, but I just wanted to bring that up. And that's just how I see it. Oh, yeah. Mark Farriester, Sunrise Vapor Blasting. You hear me talk about him every week because he does a great job for us every couple of weeks when we send him something. Get a hold of Mark Farriester. They're in Modesto, California, Sunrise Vapor Blasting. Whether it floats, flies, or rolls, Mark's going to get it as clean as it will ever be. And if you got little delicate parts attached to it that are dissimilar metals, so you have an aluminum carburetor with some brass that's pressed into it, not to worry. Mark's going to take great care of it. You'll get it back just as good as you see it right here in these videos. Thank you, Mark Farriester, for all you do for us here at the show, for being a sponsor for quite some time now, and for doing a great job on our parts, too. Sunrise Vapor Blasting. This Week in MX History, brought to you by Racer X Magazine, available on your newsstand and online as we speak. We see our ad in the back of every issue. This Week in Motocross History, 1974, the Flying Finn and Wolsink. In one of the most thrilling finishes in motocross history, Dutch rider Gerrit Wolsink crashes the Suzuki across the finish line in the 1974 Hang 10 500cc US Grand Prix, while successfully holding off Husqvarna's Heikki Mikkola for the win. The incident is featured on ABC's Wide World of Sports coverage of the event. The win is the first of what will be an incredible 5 USGP wins over the next 6 years for Wolsink. But it's Mikkola who will go on to win the 1974 FIM World Championships, as well as the one man to beat Wolsink at Carlsbad between 1974 and 1979. He wins the 78 version of the event. Anyway, there it is, 1974. In 1979, the Bomber at Anaheim, in his first visit to the Los Angeles Coliseum in Anaheim, Team Suzuki's Mark Barnett wins the 1979 Super Bowl of Motocross over Yamaha's Mike Bell, the previous year's winner, and Kawasaki's Galen Mosier. Suzuki's Ken Howerton and Kawasaki's Jeff Ward rounded out the top 5. 1985, O'Mara adds another. Johnny O'Mara, America's Johnny O'Mara, added yet another international win to his collection with an overall win at Unadilla at the 250 US GP. And O'Mara went 2-1 on his factory Honda to collect the win over Bob Hurricane Hanna, his Honda teammate, who went 1-5. American-based rider actually swept the first 5 overall positions at a Grand Prix. It was Mark Barnett and Yamaha's Rick Johnson. Top European was defending 250cc world champion Heinz Kindergartner, who went 6-6 for 6th overall that day. America really coming on by 1985, taking the first 5 spots in the US GP. Johnny O'Mara. We do have some announcements tonight. They are brought to you by the International Motocross Museum. The event is coming up on September 21st. That is a Wednesday. Tickets are available now. You can get them online at the internationalmotocrossmuseum.org. That is a Wednesday event, so mark that down. If you're attending the Motocross Donations at Redbud, that's happening on the 24th and 25th. Get over to our Chicago event, the International Motocross Museum fundraiser. You'll be able to see the Roger DeCoster collection, along with some Bob Hanna bikes, Marty Smith bikes, Sylvain Gabor's, Joël Robert, and a whole host of others. It was an amazing event last year, and I do have some seats left at, well, actually, I don't have any seats left at the first table that I bought. If you want to sit at a Vintage Motocross Q&A table, I can save you $100 off your ticket price. Get a hold of me. Money isn't due immediately. It will be due at the beginning of September, but I sold out my first table, and I'm going to go for another table too. So if you want to do that, get a hold of me right now at my table, the first table which is sold out. I've got Gordon McCaffer, Rich Vasallo, Keith Geisner, Mark Hildebrand and his guests, Oster Gayton, Greg Alexander, Andrew Sayers, Don Killer Kadalski will be at the table, and Terry and Larry Manning. I will be at that table too, but I'm looking to buy another table, and I'd like to get some more of my friends who are viewers of Vintage Motocross Q&A to come and join me in Chicago at this fundraiser. It's going to be a wonderful opportunity for us all to meet there if we've been friends on Facebook for years, which many of us have, and also a great opportunity to see some wonderful people. I know Ricky Johnson will be there again, along with Jason Wygant. They will be doing the emceeing at the event, and there's going to be some other guest MCs that I will announce in the next couple of weeks once I learn a little bit more about it. Terry Good on his International Motocross Museum page just the other day had posted this. Heike Mikkola says, I will see you September 21st. So Heike Mikkola will be there. He hasn't been to America in 20 years. I'm looking forward to meeting Heike Mikkola the first time myself, and you'll be able to do that too and get some great pictures and autographs. It all happens in Chicago, September 21st. Sit at my table, save $100. This event that I will be going to this weekend is down in Monterey. It is the AHRMA Northwest and Southwest Regional Series. Huge event. Everything that has to do with AHRMA racing will be going on. Motocross, vintage motocross trials, road racing, you name it. It will be happening over a 2-day period, June 15th, 16th, 3-day period, June 15th, 16th, and 17th. I hope to see you down there this weekend at the AHRMA Classic MotoFest in beautiful Monterey. The Ward Creek race is coming up as well. That happens July 30th and 31st, the Pacific Northwest Vintage. That is in Raymond, Washington. Get up there. Get yourself some racing in. Finish line is brought to you by Northwest Mako CZ. Don't forget to contact Alan Brown at alan@nwmakocz.com. What's he got going on this week at Northwest Mako? A little bit of everything. Brake shoes, kill buttons, stands, steel plates for your Mako clutches. Alan's got a little bit of everything on his website. Get over there and check out what he has. Guarantee you'll find something that you need for your Mako or CZ. Thank you, Alan Brown. Vintage Motocross Q&A t-shirts and hoodies are still available, just $19.99. They come in gray, they come in white, and the hoodie for a couple of bucks more. Keep yourself nice and toasty around the campfire while you're at the beach. Vintage Motocross Q&A sponsorship opportunities are still available. I got a spot right up there on the board. Your logo could be there for not as much money as you think. Join Motion Pro, Preston Petty, Vintco, Full Circle, Sunrise Vapor Blasting, and all the rest of our sponsors here at Vintage Motocross Q&A. Get a hold of me. In fact, I've got a couple of sponsorship proposals out there. I will be bringing somebody on who does 3D printing and making some special parts. And I've got another guy up here in NorCal as well that does some great work. We're negotiating some things out with them. But if you want to get a spot on Vintage Motocross Q&A and reach 20,000 people a week, plus more on Facebook, more on YouTube, and 2 channels out in Long Island, New York, 2 cable television channels, get a hold of me. I'll get you a sponsorship proposal package. I think that wraps it up for us here tonight at Vintage Motocross Q&A. Don't forget, get your tickets for the International Motocross Museum. And I hope to see you out there in Chicago. In the meantime, I want to see everyone. Oh, Gino! Boy, out of the gate strong every week, Gino Abadi. Thanks for watching the show, everyone. We'll see you next time on Vintage Motocross Q&A. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow to find out who the winner was of our random share giveaway. Good night, everybody. Rocco, could you make it up here too, Rocco? No? You're a little chicken boy, can't really make it?